What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by Tyler. We are back for another video in our Spider-Man Far From Home community series, a community series that airs on our channel every single Thursday leading up to Spider-Man Far From Home, releasing in theaters on July 2nd. We're just 2 weeks away from the movie coming out at this point, so we got this video and one more next week talking about it, leading up to it, and then once the movie actually comes out, Tyler and I will be seeing it day one, and we'll be having tons of videos throughout that first week, even going to that second week about the future, really, of Spider-Man. Now, in this video, we want to talk about the Sinister Six. We've seen a lot of things about the Sinister Six. We actually made a video several weeks back. Go check it out if you haven't already. We talked about basically the entire plot of Spider-Man Far From Home. It got leaked, and at the very end, there are mentions of the Sinister Six. Now, again, this is spoiler stuff, so if you guys don't want to know, turn away now. What we found fishy about it was the picking of who was going to be in the Sinister Six. So we're going to give it to Tyler. Tyler's going to run us through who is in the Sinister Six that we know of at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. And we're going to talk basically about how we don't believe that's the official Sinister Six. Now, we're not going to pick who we think it will be. We're going to do that after this movie comes out, so you can look forward to that in a video once this movie is out. We'll pick kind of the official Sinister Six that we think one day will be in these Spider-Man movies. But we're going to be talking about, who's in it and why we personally believe they are not going to be the ones that are going to stick around forever. So, Tyler, again, we did the leaks. We know who's actually in it. So you want to run us through who's in it and why we believe they're not going to stay?
So we know that Vulture returns, Scorpion is in it, Shocker, which is kind of strange, but Shocker, Mysterio, Chameleon, and Prowler. And then if you don't know who Prowler is, if you saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the animated movie with Miles Morales, I love that. I think that was a fantastic movie. Prowler was in it. Prowler is Miles Morales' uncle, who was introduced actually in Spider-Man Homecoming, and that was the scene where Spider-Man's doing that really deep voice, and he's like, "What's with your voice?" And all of that whole scene. That is actually who Prowler is, and I believe that was shown. His name Prowler came up. I think it was when Peter unlocks his suit, and it was showing all these different people or something. But I know factually it does say Prowler is in, or that character, Miles' uncle, is Prowler. So he's in it. So that's the list. Vulture, Scorpion, Shocker, Mysterio, Chameleon, Prowler. And then I'll say right now, there's one I'm confident will remain. Because obviously they lose. Because it's the third Spider-Man. It will be the third Spider-Man movie. We know that they want to do 6, maybe 7, but they definitely want to do 6 Spider-Man films. This definitely isn't. This is version 1. This is almost the prototype of the Sinister Six. Oh, also, headed by Norman Osborn. So, obviously, this is a test. This is probably Norman Osborn just trying to figure out, the best ways for him to take out Spider-Man. I don't think he really has any faith in this group. He just wants to see what kind of damage he can cause with them and see which one's left standing to use probably in what he will end up making as his true Sinister Six. And the one I think that will remain standing is Mysterio. Now, we might see Scorpion, still kind of standing too. I feel like he's going to be a resilient type of character because he really hates Spider-Man. And that's that actor, what was his name, Voss, in Far Cry, he's a very creepy, I don't think the actor's actually creepy. He plays kind of creepy and very dark and almost psychotic characters, and he does a really good job on that. So I don't really think they're going to only use him on one film. I think it makes sense for Scorpion or that actor to be in at least 2 films. So I do think Scorpion, we might see him stick around to end up joining the actual Sinister Six. But Mysterio, 100%. Mysterio's a pretty fan favorite character. You have Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a pretty big name. It only makes sense with the illusions and the things that Mysterio can do. It only kind of makes sense for him to stick around. Where when we look at Chameleon, he could change faces, but My question is going to be: is it going to be the same technology that we saw Black Widow use in Winter Soldier? I hope not. I hope it's a little bit different. But other than that, that's really all Chameleon can do, as far as we know. Prowler, that would be a means to get Miles Morales into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I can see that. That'll probably be somebody who will be dealt with by Miles, maybe in the fourth film. Miles has to basically take on his uncle. I can see that happening, but I don't see him being in the Sinister Six. Shocker, I've actually liked Shocker in like the games and in the comics, but I never thought he would work for a film, and Homecoming kind of showed that. Like, literally, like, Homecoming even made like he's a joke. Even the Vulture made like, you're a total joke. You're the Shocker. I shock things. So like he was just a joke of a character. So I really don't see. Now I do like the new Shocker. I like that actor, but I just don't see him. That is not Sinister Six material. Vulture, I don't see him sticking around because I think he's really being dragged into this because of what he knows. He knows who Spider-Man is, and it's Norman Osborn. He's got a lot of money. He's the one who bought Avengers Tower and Stark Tower. Or Stark Tower, and then that became Avengers Tower. He's the buyer from Homecoming. So he's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of power. He probably knows exactly where Liz is and the mother of Liz is. I can't remember Vulture's name right now for some reason. But he probably knows where Vulture's family is, so they're probably holding that over his head. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if Vulture doesn't die in a battle with Spider-Man, but possibly, they obviously fail, and some might not make it because of their own stupidity and mistakes. But I can see like Mysterio making it out, Scorpion making it out, Vulture making it out, and maybe Norman's watching the whole thing, and I assume Norman will fund their new suits or upgrades to suits. That makes sense. But I have a feeling there's going to be a scene where Vulture could have done something to stop Peter, and he doesn't because he knows, Peter is a good kid and he saved his life, and if it wasn't for him, his daughter wouldn't have a father anymore. And he realized that he messed up. So I think there's going to be a scene where you can tell Norman is pretty unpleased with him because he didn't finish the job, and I wouldn't be surprised if Norman kills Vulture, and that would probably be the end, which would be kind of like like Norman's evil, and that sucks because honestly, seeing Vulture fight Spider-Man again, I'm gonna feel, and we're supposed to feel that it would suck to see him fighting because we know he really doesn't want to fight Peter, and we know that from the after credits or the mid credits of Spider-Man: Homecoming, where he didn't want to tell Scorpion who Peter is. He just kind of plays it off. So we know he likes Peter. So to see him almost literally die because he spared Peter, he saved Peter, and he dies for it. That's kind of an impact. So I can see all those things taking place where Vulture falls because Norman takes him out. Scorpion remains and Mysterio remains. And then we're left with Norman Osborn creating a new Sinister Six for the future movies. But, having said all that, there's no way Chameleon and Prowler and Shocker are anything but kind of like stand-ins and almost fodder for Spider-Man in the next film.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is something that we saw, when we went over the leaks of these characters, and even the first time we read them and I saw them and Tyler saw them, we kind of said, there's no way this is actually it. And then, maybe people would then look at that and say, well, maybe the leaks are wrong. Well, I feel like all of the leaks so far from what we know and what we're gearing up to see the movie, they all seem pretty darn accurate. So this is the group. It's just the question of, will this be the group long term? And you have to think about how many more Spider Spider-Man movies there are left, and the fact that they still can pull so many different things, and they still have villains that they have yet to introduce, and that you really think that they can't just pass up. Mainly Doc Ock, even Venom, and we'll be talking about both those characters really in future videos. And again, when the movie comes out, we got a lot of stuff planned, but they can't let big characters like that, the biggest arguably, like the arch nemesis of Spider-Man, along with Green Goblin, you can't let that just go away. This is really their prime opportunity. They're nailing it. This isn't Tobey Maguire. This isn't Andrew Garfield. This is a young actor who has obviously nailed the role, that they feel very, very confident, that has mixed in really well with the Avengers. Everybody loves it. Spider-Man movies are going to do super, super good, and it's great that we get that kind of world, that we're finally here, where they can just absolutely nail all of these films. And because of that, well, now you have to really give your big guns. You can't just pass up on the opportunity to have some huge villains just go on the side. Like, what would a Spider-Man franchise be if this 5 movies go past and we don't see those huge names? So, like Tyler said, I feel like there's going to be different ways, not just in the way that all these characters will die, maybe because of a fight or whatever, but maybe step down, or maybe, like Tyler said, maybe be killed off by the main villains. I think all those are very high possibilities, because you do have to swap several of them out. I think Vulture doesn't make it just for the fact of his age, and also the fact that he's evil, but at the same time he respects Peter, and I don't think he would end up doing anything that would get him killed, whereas everybody else is actually out for his death. So he kind of is misplaced. Also, Michael Keaton's age, definitely, you can't really keep him around forever. So there is a lot of possibilities for a couple of these characters to step aside in place of bigger characters. They can keep some of the characters that they have in the Sinister Six if they want to introduce Miles and have that be a big storyline. Maybe you have to keep Prowler, but there's a lot of mixing and matching they can do. And when they're going to introduce the rest of them, like whether these villains will come in the next movie, or they're going to have just Spider-Man 3 be this group, they'll fail at the end, and then 4 they'll kind of come back in a new state. We're going to be talking about those kind of things in the future, but it's going to be really cool to see the placement of what they're going to do. So guys, let us know in the comments below, what do you think about what we said? Do you believe the leaks, firstly, that this is the Sinister Six? And if you do you believe what we're saying? Do you think they're going to swap some of them out in future movies? Let us know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And again, they go up every single Thursday. We got one more video next week, and then the movie comes out the following week on that Monday night or Tuesday. We're going to be watching it. We're going to be making tons of videos after it, and we hope to see you guys there.